joining, everyone, and a big shout out to the ETHSofia team. The event's been fantastic so far. Really enjoyed interacting with the Bulgarian Ethereum community, and it's so lightning to see so much great stuff happening here. Also, thanks to Will for the shout out on SSV before in the introduction. My job is done. I think you pitched SSV better than I could, but I think I'll deep dive a little bit more into what DVT is in a profound sense, especially as Ethereum continues to upgrade upon itself. Just to introduce myself, I'm Alex. I manage ecosystem growth, business development at SSV Labs. We're the core contributors and founders to SSV Network. And those that maybe missed the last talk, SSV is pioneering and founded, is working on DVT technology, which is distributed validator tech. And really the core idea here is, how can you take an Ethereum validator and distribute the operations of it so you can really, enhance its security, fault tolerance, resiliency, but also at its heart, our mission is very clear. It's really to extend the level of decentralization and security and really keep Ethereum as a safe place, as a core technology that's credibly neutral and really enhances everything that we love about it and what binds us all here today. So with that said, Ethereum's on a cusp of a major transformation. At the end of this year and or possibly at the start of next year, we'll undergo a series of upgrades called the Pectra update. And whilst at its background, it's really intended to make sure that Ethereum scales and to really upgrade the technology and bring in the next hundreds of millions of users, which we all want to see. It's very well intentioned. But what I think doesn't actually get a lot of discourse at the moment, and what I would like to share with the room, is concerns around stake centralization. So at SSV, this is a topic that keeps us up late at night. It's why we're working here, that's why we're here. And I want to share a little bit more about what SSV is doing to mitigate some concerns and unintended side effects of Pectra with respect to stake centralization. So to take a little step back to share a little bit more on what SSV is working on. So SSV is a project born out of a research project of the Ethereum Foundation. And the core idea was, how do you take the Ethereum validator key, split it into multiple key shares, and then have those key shares operated by independent node operators in a cluster. And tying everything together is a QBFT consensus at threshold signatures. So the idea here is, say, if I have 4 key shares operated by independent node operators, and one goes down, maybe due to client failure or cloud failure or anything that may cause your node to go offline, no big problem whatsoever, because just so long as you have 3 out of 4 in your cluster, or 7 out of 10, you can keep doing all the attestations and blob proposals and keeping your node 100% of up at the time, ideally, and making sure you can get all the staking yield that's available to you. And that's very important to providing that security to the network. But what DVT does is that what you can begin to see here introduces really important aspects of decentralization, because it inherently provides the incentives to run your key shares or node operators in a decentralized way. You really start to harness the benefits of DVT when you use multiple execution and consensus clients, you use different cloud configurations, and in the ideal sense, have operators managed by different entities. And Will showed us a fantastic example of that, of how Lido is implementing DVT. So really, we eliminate all single points of failure from that respect. So through this research from the Ethereum Foundation, SSV spent many years working with the staking ecosystem, really to battle test the technology. And through many years of testnet, we took this idea of DVT to the next level and implemented it as a DVT network, which we feel is the most optimum way to utilize this technology. And we're excited to say that we went live on mainnet last year, and really the growth has been absolutely phenomenal and well beyond even the most bullish expectations of the core team since we went live last year. And really you can see we're working with the entire cross-section of the staking space. So a lot of the leading LSTs, restaking protocols, staking service providers, institutions, and even Ethereum ETFs that are running institutional product for traditional financial services are beginning to look at DVT as a way to enhance a lot of the security and fault tolerance for their products. We're excited to say we actually crossed 1.5 million ETH. This is already outdated since I made the slides, but the growth has really been exponential, and it's a true validation, excuse the pun, of the technology it being gaining product market fit. And there's a real need for DVT in the market. There's a sense of urgency to achieve the sense of decentralization, keep Ethereum as a credibly neutral platform, but also benefit from a lot of the product features that DVT brings. So staking's come really a long way, and it's incredible to see that proof of staking products have only really been around for 5 years on Ethereum. And that's really thanks to a lot of the early pioneers 5 years ago when Ethereum transitioned from a proof of work chain to a proof of stake chain. There's been a number of really high-profile innovations that we've seen, particularly with restaking, that's emerged in the last year or two, and that's the idea that we're asking more of a validator beyond performing the core Ethereum duties, but really how you can secure auxiliary services within the Ethereum network. Shapella was a massive upgrade in 2023, which enabled withdrawals on the Ethereum chain. But what I think really deserves a place on on this time scale and arc of innovation on the Ethereum is this Pectra upgrade, which is coming up. So what do stakers need to know? So if you're in the room, potentially you may hold some liquid staking tokens, maybe you solo stake, or maybe this is just an area within Ethereum that you're monitoring quite closely. What are some key things that you need to know about Pectra? So basically, Ethereum undergoes some hard forks every so often, and really what this is the Ethereum community comes together and decides on how we can upgrade some technical specifications and adopt some new rules to scale the technology further. At the end of the year, the start of next year, when we expect it to go live, there's a bunch of EIPs which are tied to it or associated with it. These are Ethereum improvement proposals. There's a few here which really relate to staking and how validators are run. But the one I really want to focus in on, and the scope of the talk today, is around EIP 7251, and this is increasing max effective balance on the validator. So what does this mean, increasing max effective balance? So today, when you run a validator, you have a floor of 32 ETH, which is assigned to each one, and the key idea here is that it's one validator, one vote in the Ethereum network. But the idea is instead of having 32 ETH, we can extend this up to 2048 ETH, but still keeping the floor of 32 ETH. And really the idea is, it's going to decrease a lot of the network overhead. It's going to allow large validators who are running their infrastructure at scale to consolidate onto less machines, really allowing them to benefit from cost improvements. But for the network itself, it's really decreasing the peer-to-peer messages, and it's a fantastic way really to scale the network forward. So it all sounds good, right? With these things, there's a double-edged sword. So what this means is that, economies of scale are going to become ever more important. And if we take a step back and look at the large staking business today, we can really see that not a lot of businesses are not making money. Margins are really compressed. So when we add this extra emphasis on operating with economies of scale, we could really see the added incentives here to consolidate validators even further, which could be self-perpetuating, because if we have an extra emphasis on economies of scale, we could potentially see more M&A in the validation business, which would potentially, increase stake centralization further. There's one other point here which is important to note, is that when you miss an attestation today on your validator, you get penalized the amount of the reward that you would receive. And when Ethereum pumps out blocks every 10 seconds and you miss an attestation, no big deal whatsoever. You're not going to be penalized very much. Obviously, we strive to get 100% performance on the validator, but it's not really an issue. But when we have 2048 ETH on a single validator, people are really going to start to feel the pain. And especially for a lot of large staking products or pools that have potentially even node operator committees that really look after this, it's something that we really need to focus on, and how do we find the sweet spot here? So, we really need to find ways that, one, make sure that validators are performing up to 100% of the time, but also those that doesn't increase centralization in the staking space. So just to take a look at what the state of stake centralization looks like today, actually it's not in a fantastic place. Our starting point isn't brilliant, to say the least. So 52% are controlled by just 5 companies, 50% are located in 3 countries, namely in Western Europe or in North America. And what we do is actually, when we have such few companies holding all the stake, typically their DevOps team have a set of preferences or experience in actually how they run their validator stack. Typically, they may be very comfortable in using one cloud or infrastructure setup or even the type of clients that they run, possibly for performance. So today, we have a lot of concentration in the consensus clients and execution clients that people are using. And what we could possibly predict is that if we enter a world where there's less and less entities validating in the Ethereum network, they'll converge on a set of clients that they're comfortable using. And this is really bad because if one client goes down, it could potentially be a systemic risk and bring the whole network down with it, which is something we really want to avoid. So how does DVT help in this context? So DVT itself, but really mitigating large single points of failure. And it has that inherent incentivization to really mix and match how you design your operator, really build bulletproof infrastructure to protect your validators. So for those that are running validators, like many validators with 2048 ETH on it, they can mix and match the clients that they use, the geolocation where they run it, the type of hosting that they do, and really make sure that they're being a good citizen of the Ethereum network and bringing this added decentralization to the space as well. Again, it's really leveling the playing field for smaller operators itself. It can really help the grassroots operators, the solo stakers compete against the big boys. Make sure you're attaining that 100% performance, which is going to be ever more important to compete against the large staking service providers in the space. But by and large, DVT is really here as an infrastructure to provide that redundancy, a bulletproof security that after Pectra, that's going to be ever more important. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about decentralization as a community effort and the milestones that SSV has put in place to achieve a resilient and robust staking ecosystem after Pectra. So the SSV DAO has actually put a really ambitious mission that by the end of next year, we would like to see 2/3 of all ETH, 2/3 of all validators running on DVT. And this isn't just a nice ambition to have, it's really a necessity. It's really a necessity to make sure that we have a decentralized place to interact, and to do value transfer, make sure that there's a place where there's a level playing field, we have censorship resistance, and all of these nice qualities that make our technology different from everyone else, and make sure we're solving the real world problems that bind us all here today. So there's a few things here what SSV is doing to achieve this ambition that they're both on the technical side and also the community side. So on the technical side, SSV itself, we're going through our own fork, and that's a series of upgrades that's going to reduce the CPU time and bandwidth consumption to actually run a distributed validator on SSV itself. So today, you actually need quite beefy hardware to run a validator on SSV, on the Ethereum network, but combined with Pectra and combined with the Allen fork to run it on a DVT setup, it's actually never been a better time to be a solo staker or a grassroots staker on the Ethereum network itself. On the community side, SSV has an incentivized mainnet program, and basically what that means is if you're running a validator on Ethereum, but you run it on SSV network, the SSV DAO will boost your APY a certain percentage as a reward for doing so. And the idea here is really to spur the adoption and accelerate DVT, which is extremely urgent for the time we're in to decentralize the Ethereum validator set as a whole further. But I think in a nutshell, it's really never been a better time to be a solo staker or a grassroots staker. A DVT is one of those tools that's going to level the playing field and allow everybody to compete against each other. And Ethereum, in a nutshell, really thrives when you have a long tail of many different staking applications. So everyone in the room could decide how they want to stake, who they want to stake, where they want to stake, and make sure there's a variety of competition for everybody. So to tie everything together, in a nutshell, the Pectra upgrade, it could lead to systemic risks around stake centralization. I think it's very well thought through in the sense that it's really going to scale Ethereum and make sure we decrease a lot of the network overhead. But as a community, we do really need to make sure we keep centralization in check. It's really important to power Ethereum forward. DVT is really one of those tools that, when adopted at mass scale, is really going to help decentralize the network further, make sure we mitigate single points of failure, and give that inbuilt fault tolerance for the network. So thank you very much, everybody.